Hi there, my name's Grant Bickerton and I'm a registered psychologist who serves with Power to Change here in Melbourne. But what I'm sharing about today is 5 points that can help us cope with anxiety related to COVID-19, as well as how to assist others who may also be concerned. 1. Access good information, but just not too much. See, anxiety is contagious, even more than the virus. So try to limit media exposure, especially from most social media or media that relies on advertising, which is going to tend to sensationalise what is produced. Instead, seek out factual information from reliable sources, such as the Australian Government's health alerts or other trusted organisations such as the World Health Organization. Use media enough to make up-to-date and informed decisions, but keep those information bites brief and then turn it off and focus on what else is going on in your day. 2. Beware of living up in your head. See, when we're stressed, it's easy to see things worse than they really are. We can tend to start thinking of the worst case scenario or extrapolate our situations out with kind of what if thinking. What if this happens? What if this? Whatever. That really takes us away from the reality of what's going on today, that we're truly living in. And then we end up living our lives up in our head, which is actually usually an unreal and distorted reality. We need to stay in the now of God's present moment, rather than imagining the worst case scenario and then worrying about that. So instead, ask yourself, am I getting ahead of myself? Am I hypothesizing or assuming that something really bad is going to happen when I really don't know the outcome? Or am I overestimating that the likelihood of the worst case scenario is really true? Or maybe even, am I underestimating my own ability to cope? Sometimes thinking about how you would cope, even if the worst were to happen, can help you to put things into perspective. Number 3, consider the reality of the resources available. In times of crisis, we can really feel extremely vulnerable, even like we're not able to be protected from harm. But it is important to remind ourselves of the resources we do have available. Firstly, the benefits of living in this country, the quality of our healthcare, and the information that we have been provided that can really help keep us safe. There's 2 key actions that authorities are encouraging us to take to control the virus. That is practicing responsible physical distancing and hygiene. So be proactive by following these 2 key directives. But for a follower of Jesus, a real key to dealing with fear is not just to say, stop fearing. But rather, we need to bring someone else into the equation that we really can trust in. In Matthew 18, it's the account of where Jesus walks on water and he calls Peter out to come to him also out onto the water. Peter actually begins to walk on water towards Jesus, but he starts to sink when he takes his eyes off Jesus and then starts to focus on the wind and becomes afraid. The issue with Peter did not have to do with how he was viewing the wind and the waves. They actually were dangerous. The issue was, however, that Jesus was present, and Peter needed to manage his fear by keeping Jesus included in this dangerous situation that he was in. Jesus, who was then standing on the water right next to him himself. Peter was being called to act with the reality that Jesus was with him rather than solely focusing on the wind and the waves alone. What Peter was actually looking at was accurate. It was by itself concerning. But you see, it was so dominating his mind that he forgot that King Jesus, the one through whom all things had been made, was also standing right there with him. 4. Focus on living out your core values. Now, the reality is things are different now. And for many of us, these changes have resulted in genuine loss. Even if we haven't been touched personally yet by loss of employment, loss of some freedoms, or serious illness, we very may well soon. While it's appropriate to grieve these changes, it's also important to learn how to keep moving forward in meaningful ways. So to do that, it's imperative to lift up our eyes and reaffirm or revise what really is important in our lives. You may like to consider the big areas of life. spiritual life, family life, work life, emotional life, physical life, and financial life. And in each of those areas, consider what are my core values about each one? What do I really value in each one? And then think about what are my maybe 1, 2, or 3 really big values or convictions out of all of those different areas. Because some values are going to be more important to you than others. For example, for me, I have 2 really big dominant convictions. One, I want to personally meet with Jesus each day so that I can listen to him and then respond to him. And secondly, each day I want to come alongside another person and help them to take that next step towards being a fully flourishing human. In managing the stress of COVID-19, we need to not only engage in the defense of managing stress through those first 3 points I've talked about, but we also need to get on the offense and keep moving forward in living out our personal core life convictions. And 5, schedule in enjoyable and constructive activities. Now that you've clarified some of your core convictions, plan to enact them somehow each day and across the week. That also includes looking after yourself. Now, everyone seems to practice self-care a little bit differently, but usually self-care practices must include these particular things. Maintain good social connections and communicate openly with supportive family and friends. Make time for activities and hobbies that you enjoy and that generate other positive emotions. Keep up a healthy lifestyle by eating a balanced diet, exercising somehow regularly, and engaging in quality sleep. And then finally, practicing some spiritual disciplines that encourage you to renew your mind and give your whole body a chance to settle and reset in a calm state. Well, I hope these 5 points will be helpful for you in helping you to cope through this unusual period of world history. 1, access good information, but not too much. 2, beware of living up in your head alone. 3, consider the reality of the resources available to you. 4, focus on living out your core values. And 5, schedule in enjoyable and constructive activities each day and across the week.